hand if you've ever felt different or out of place from those around you. Raise your hand if you've ever felt excluded from a group, despite your best efforts to fit in. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced a language barrier and thought to yourself, I wish it were easier to communicate. We live in a world that is deeply divided on everything from politics to fast food chicken sandwiches. We bicker on social media and we approach problems with a mindset of competition instead of collaboration. As a result, we're not making any new friends, and we're having a hard time keeping the friends we do have. But it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to let our differences incite and divide us. Today, we're going to talk about how to tackle culture, lifestyle, and language barriers so that you can turn an introduction into a friendship and better maintain that friendship over time. I'm a solo travel blogger and writer, so I've made a career out of putting myself in settings where I'm the other trying to fit in. Recently, I visited the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg, Canada. This is a 7-story building that's designed to take you both metaphorically and literally from the depths of human history and the worst acts against humanity up towards the future, an unfinished tower. What I found intriguing about this museum, and what I love most about Canada in general, was the emphasis on everyone. The museum advocated for equal rights for all, from victims of the apartheid to Indigenous peoples. And it showed how easily you could elicit empathy for all of the stories under one roof, even if you couldn't necessarily relate to them. It was there that I heard a phrase that stuck with me. Protect the differences. Connection isn't made through assimilation. Connection is made through inclusion and mutual respect. Let's talk about how we can tackle some of those common barriers to connection so that we can better maintain and make friendships. The first barrier we're going to talk about today is language. Recently, I visited Bali, Indonesia, and I spent a month at a homestay. A homestay is a traditional accommodation that is similar to a bed and breakfast. And my homestay was beautiful. It had 5 guest rooms, each with their own ensuite bathroom. It had wooden statues scattered throughout the premises, bright tropical flowers, big palm trees. It was an oasis in the middle of busy Ubud. Almost immediately, I noticed that there was a language barrier between myself and my hosts. I would say something, and my host mother would nod along, squinting, and then repeating the last word after I said it. I found that I could get across my point by looking up keywords as necessary, gesturing a lot, and speaking slowly. But I wanted to connect on a deeper level. So I stayed every morning after breakfast, and I asked questions. And it was this way that I learned that the statues that I'd seen on the premises were actually hand-carved by my host's brother. Or that my host had wanted to learn Spanish, so they picked up a Rosetta Stone program at a used bookstore. They must have recognized my efforts because the family invited me to attend a Balinese festival as their guest. I had no idea what to wear, so my host mother came to my room and helped me get ready. I donned a traditional kabaya, an embroidered blouse, a sarong, and she finished the outfit off with a flower in my hair. When I got to the temple, I was the only non-Balinese person in attendance. I didn't understand anything that was happening. I didn't understand the lyrics of the songs being sang or the prayers being recited. But I did my best to take it all in, grateful for the opportunity just to be there. I expected to be treated like an outsider, made to sit on the sidelines, but instead I was seated on the floor with my host mother. When holy water was passed around and blessings were given, I was included. This was one of my most memorable travel experiences because it showed that even when you don't have words, you can convey an intention. Even when you can't speak, you can start by listening. Stephen R. Covey said, "Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply." When words fail you, convey an intent to listen and learn instead. Now at home, language barriers can be seen as frustrating and inconvenient. We hear of people being told to speak English. But the 2017 census report shows that 1 in 5 people in the US actually speak a second language. Studies show, and the New York Times reports, that being bilingual makes you smarter. Learning a second language helps protect against dementia and improve your cognitive skills. It would be a profound loss for us intellectually if we only spoke one language. Keep that in mind the next time you're having difficulty communicating. Don't look down on someone because they don't speak perfect English. On the contrary, recognize the intellect required to speak more than one language and treat them the way you would want to be treated if you were ever somewhere like, say, Bali. The next barrier we're going to talk about today is culture. And I use this term broadly to encompass religion, race, and nationality. To better illustrate my point, I'm going to reference a character that some of you may know. His name is Nas Daily, and he's a viral Facebook star that makes videos under 1 minute that are very impactful. Nas often tackles culture in his videos because they're close to him as a Muslim Palestinian citizen of Israel. And in this video clip that I'm about to show you, Nas is in Jerusalem when a man starts harassing him because he finds out that Nas is Arab. The man is joined by his 13-year-old sister, who also starts harassing Nas, and that's where this video picks up.
This was one of the lowest points of my journey, but what happened next needs to be seen because it was incredible. The racist guy and his sister left without saying a word and left me disappointed, but not for long. Immediately after, 3 other young Orthodox Jewish girls walked by. And unlike the first 2, they didn't care that I was Arab or Palestinian or Muslim or whatever.
עוד משהו מגניב, יומיים אחרי שהייתי באילת, ראיתי סרטון שלך על אילת. יומיים אחרי, בדיוק כל הדברים.
תודה רבה. You guys are so nice.
They just wanted to be friends.
So what I found impactful about this video was, first, that it manages to be positive and uplifting despite dealing with a polarizing topic, but also that it shows us that someone like Nas Daily, who's recognized by 14 million people across the world, can still experience the same kind of exclusion and divisive action that we're talking about here today. So instead of fearing new or foreign people or places, let's be curious. It's what leads to dialogue and discussion instead of shutting each other out. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Men hate each other because they fear each other. And they fear each other because they don't know each other. And they don't know each other because they're often separated from each other." We live in a world where, technologically speaking, we are no longer separated from each other. At the click of a button, you can watch all of Nas Daily's videos. You can talk to somebody across the world. We're coming together and sharing viewpoints and ideas despite geographical distances. Instead of avoiding this inevitable clash of cultures, you should welcome and embrace it. The final barrier we're going to talk about today is lifestyle. The saying opposites attract does not apply to friendships. We tend to gravitate towards people that are like us because it's comfortable. So what's wrong with that? Well, we need differences to grow. We need varying life views and values to challenge our own perspectives. It's good to be uncomfortable sometimes. Anyone who's ever exercised can tell you that. At first, you dread the experience, then you start to look forward to going, and after a while, you're seeing progress and results that you never thought possible. Our societal muscles are flexed by our differences. It would be a mistake to let lifestyle choices affect your ability to interact with people unlike you. It doesn't matter what kind of car somebody drives, what kind of food they eat, what they do for work, where they live. When I quit my attorney job to travel and write full-time, people assumed my family was freaking out. And my mom wasn't. She just smiled and said that she knew that my currency was time, that I would be happier as an entrepreneur setting my own schedule than in a rigid corporate setting. And she was right. I didn't want to spend another minute in a meeting that I was being forced to sit through, so I traded my beautiful floor-to-ceiling windows for seat 27F of the economy cabin, and I'm actually happier this way. You'll hear people saying things like, chase experiences, not things. I say chase whatever you want. Just understand that we're not all chasing the same thing. Instead of being judgmental, help people when you see that they're being bullied for being different. Speak up. In a world that forces people to fit a mold, help people be themselves. Start a conversation by asking about a person's interests instead of where they're from or what they do. Don't judge a person because of the way that they look. They could be rich in ways that you can't even imagine. You don't need to travel the world to make meaningful connections. You just have to be more thoughtful about your daily interactions. In time, you'll find that you've made a network of friends that will help you feel like you fit in, even when you stand out. Thank you.